I conquered this much of the world in 100 years without becoming a horde and without forming a major coalition. How did I do it? Simply, it's because I'm the most amazing EU4 player of all time. There we go, chat. How do I get my troops out of here? I can't do that.
Oh, look, a bird!
Contrary to popular belief, I'm actually not that great of a world conquester or doing runs like this. There's actually people that are way better than me. I'm looking at you, Lambda. And in this video and the upcoming video after this, I will be going over this incredible run that I had, where I attempted to conquer the entire world before the year 1600 without being a horde and without getting outside help. You guys asked for a detailed video, so here it is. I hope you have your notebooks ready.
Customization!
Genius!
He's tenderizing the ground!
Of course!
Write that down, write that down!
1 month ago, I recorded and showed you guys my first attempt at this run, and it failed. The only rule was I could not become a horde. In that video, I discussed about multiple different strategies that we could try doing this run with. You could do Majapahit into Shogun, tributes into mass vassal strategy, and then just vassalize the entire world. You could do some kind of PU strategy with Bohemia or Provence and then form other nations. But I stuck with Mughals, the classic. I also had an idea of how to perfectly execute the opener, the most important part of this run. Back now, attempt number 3. I'm doing World Conquest pre-1600, okay? We have it down what the first 3 war cycles. From 1444 restarting so many times, I kind of came down to the ideal set of wars and time periods that you should complete and hit these wars and finish these wars in. If you notice, they're in 5-year periods. This is because we need to sell crownlands and seize crownlands as often as possible to do this run properly. So, with all that in mind, it was time to cook. As mentioned earlier in this video, the first wars are quite important, and it's very important that in these wars that we don't lose all of our manpower, especially in the Ajam War, our very first war. Our opening moves stayed the same. We go for core cost and government interaction, we get all level 3 advisors, we take out all of the power points in our estates, we seize 2 provinces from Sistan and release them to make our vassals more loyal. Something also different that we did in this run is that we actually are going to convert some provinces to Sunni. The key here is that we get 50% Sunni, 50% Shia. Not exactly 50% because we're going to have a Zoroastrian province, we're going to have some Hindi provinces, but the amount of Shia development we have is the same amount of Sunni development we have, and this will come very important later on as we will show in this video. As we siege Ajam, we keep our army close to each other. Ideally, we never engage our enemies and we just siege. After we peace out Nogai or whoever Ajam allied, we go for Ladakh. While we're still in the Ajam War, by the way, we're gonna attack Ladakh, and then after we attack Ladakh, we're gonna attack Kashmir. One trick that you can use in these kind of runs is that you can give objectives to your AI vassals. This sometimes doesn't work, but sometimes it does work and they do follow their objective. It is good to keep them loyal for these wars since their help will make these wars a lot easier. It is also very important that you don't lose your initial king in the beginning. And if we do lose our initial king, we either restart or we just do a save scum, since save scumming is allowed in this run.
Oh, look, a bird!
Once we're able to, we're going to do 100% peace deal on Ajam. Very important here, we need to release Ardalan. And the reason why we do this is because there would be too much liberty desire in our subjects. Right now, we don't want to make too many vassals because we still want to annex Transoxiana, Khorasan, Fars, and Afghanistan all at the same time once we get Diplo ideas, the first idea in Diplo ideas. In the early stages of this run, we will be constantly checking our religious development, trying to get an even balance between Shia and Sunni. Our next war is Karakulyunyu, and while we're doing this war, we are still trying to complete
our Ladakh war, just one fort and a couple provinces. As you can see, the subjects are kind of using the objective mechanic, but not really in its entirety. While sieging down Ladakh, we go for Kashmir as well, starting our 4th war. Sieging QQ was taking longer than expected, but we finished our wars against Ladakh and Kashmir and saw Delhi had no allies and Jaunpur, our ally, was willing to join. It's very important though that we get the occupation of Delhi first in this war, since Jaunpur has a strategic interest on that province. As we were sieging down Delhi, we also declared war on Multan since they are allied to Jaunpur, making it so Jaunpur wasn't called into the war as long as we stayed in war with Delhi. Of course, we have already went over our first 5-year period without having peace, but it was because I seized the opportunity of attacking Delhi instead of waiting a year to do so, because they could get allies or the diplomatic situation could change. With QQ, we will snake up to Yerevan, which is important for later. We will take provinces in the south to release Iraq as a vassal, and finally we release Syria out of QQ as an independent state, which we will ally and diplomatically vassalize later. Versus Delhi, we will snake towards Delhi so we can form the Mughals.
Manning siege equipment. Trebuchet ready, sir.
Let him cook! Let him cook now!
And of course, we want to integrate our vassals as soon as we can, but we're not going to just sit here 2 years not doing war. There's 2 quick wars we need to do that aren't 100% wars, so we can do them fast. First war is Hormuz. Oh, by the way, we should ally Ottomans now that we're in peace. Get that over with. First war is Hormuz. We just want Hormuz Island. It would be very good for us. Uzbek, we need to get 1 province. We needed 1 province from Uzbek so we could release Kazakh out of them. This is a really good subject to have that's going to have a lot of reconquest claims on Uzbek and some on Chagatai. We used the Kondot trick to attack Hormuz and get on the Hormuz island. Essentially, you give free Kondots to Hormuz, then declare war on them once your troops are on their island, and they don't get black flagged, and you're immediately sieging the island. From Hormuz, we just took the island of Hormuz and max money. From Uzbek, we took 1 province and max money. 2 pretty quick wars. Now it was time to get Diplo ideas and integrate 4 of our subjects at the same time. But first we're going to Dev Renaissance, and we're going to do this using a kind of exploity mechanic that I explained in my last video, but I'm going to explain it again because some people seem to not understand it. There is a way to get the Maliki dev cost reduction bonus twice, and it will also now make sense why we kept Sunni and Shia at the same exact dev. We first are going to turn Shia by accepting rebel demands. We can provoke these rebels by putting a missionary on a province that has less than 30% rebel progress. Now that we become Shia, we are going to now switch a missionary to a Sunni province with less than 30% progress as well, and wait 1 month tick. Successfully got the rebels that we needed. However, they were asking for the wrong demands. This is because we did not get it perfectly 50-50, but it was close enough that we were able to take the 3 dev mission from our mission tree that gives us 3 dev in our capital to make Sunni the dominant faith in our nation. So we were able to go again straight to Sunni. When we get the pop-up of what school of thought we want to do, we just keep it open and instead go and invite a foreign scholar into our nation, which in this case we will do Maliki foreign scholar. Then we will choose Maliki as our main school of thought, giving us the dev cost bonus twice. Max expand infrastructure, dev edict, level 3 trade center, and popped golden era on top of our double Maliki bonus means that we could dev renaissance for relatively cheap in our capital in Herat. We now take the 5th admin technology, and with that take our first idea group, which we take diplomatic, get the first idea in it so we can get the 4th diplomat, and improve relations so we can integrate all of these vassals at the same time. We form Mughals and move our capital to Yerevan. The main reason why we move our capital there is because Indians cannot see that part of the world. So as long as we don't have a border with them, or we haven't fought a war against them previously in the past, they cannot join a coalition against us. This is again another little trick that I learned that may be considered an exploit. But because of this, we can expand in India very aggressively as long as we
keep truces on the people that we previously fought. Before we go really ham in India, we need to deal with Ottoman expansion into the Middle East, and we do this by attacking the Mamluks. We use our diplo-vassalized Syria, which we got after we released them from Karakalunu and befriended them, allied them.
Praise in chat for good sieges. That's what we need the most of. Karak still exists. Sometimes Mamluks deletes that.
We still fight in India as we are fighting the Mamluks. The thing is, we use the Ottoman ally that we have to fight the Mamluks for us. In this run, Shah Rukh was still alive. We kept save scumming every time he died since we had no heir, and we were waiting for an acceptable king to take his place.
You just can't wait for me to die, can you?
I cannot stress how important it is that we avoid battles. It actually would be better here if we played at a slower speed, because 1 or 2 wrong battles would drain our entire manpower. Also, while we're doing this war, we're going to be attacking Kalunu, which is an Ottoman ally, and also expanding into the miners in Persia.
First 15 years of the game, we've done this much.
My men are eager for battle, and so am I.
Betrayal.
All right, next war cycle.
This next war cycle is the war cycle of betrayal. We are now going to turn on our 2 allies that helped us in our previous wars, Jaunpur and the Ottomans. Both nations have quite a significant army, but we still use the same tactic of keeping our army close together while we siege in order to discourage the AI from engaging us in battle. While we're doing this war, we're also going to start attacking the smaller nations that we have borders with. It's very important that we kill these smaller nations, as they're usually the ones that will cause the coalition to form. Many small nations will join together and can be quite overwhelming and make a coalition. Of course, this only applies for nations that we have borders with due to our capital being in Yerevan. Fortunately, Jaunpur was not moving his army. Luckily for us, we had a tech advantage, which made this battle a clear stomp for us.
1467, this is what we look like right now. We're doing good pace. We now need to defeat the Ottomans in a quick, swift war. While fighting Jaunpur, we were able to get a quick war against Uzbek using reconquest claims of Kazakh. And now we were fighting the Ottomans. It's going to be quite tricky, as the Ottomans are, of course, a formidable enemy. We need to we're going to release Urzakan and Byzantium in this war. You surrounded Ottoman army, surrender. Since of course we do not have a navy in the Mediterranean or the Black Sea, we do have to go all the way around through Crimea to reach Constantinople. And with a couple sieges, we can finally peace out the Ottomans. There we go, chat. Wait. How do I get my troops out of here? From the peace deal with the Ottomans, we release Eretna and Byzantium out of the Ottomans. It is very important that we also conquer other provinces besides Constantinople, since we are unable to release Byzantium through just Constantinople because the Ottoman decision makes that province Turkish. So for that reason, we need to also release Greek provinces in order to get Byzantium properly released. It's really important that we release Byzantium because the Constantinople trade node is a big source of income and trade power for the Ottomans.
The situation looks grave indeed. Maybe a change of plan is needed.
AI with the braids.
Next, we're going to reset the truce with the Ottomans by declaring war on his allies Kalunu, who we previously white-pieced in our first war against the Ottomans. After that quick war, we do our second war against the Mamluks, and we also are going to fully annex Karaman. Notice that we also seized Antakya from Syria in order to get a province in the Mediterranean, so we can start annexing provinces that border in the Mediterranean instead of keep vassal feeding. Vassal feeding is a very good mechanic, and it's really good to avoid aggressive expansion when they have reconquest claims. However, we got to a point now where we have so many vassals that it's hard to keep them loyal. We also finally got an acceptable king at 545. We were also running a level 5 admin advisor, making our admin generation 17 per month. Keep in mind, in these type of runs, admin is our most important gate from being successful. We were also able to reset the truce with Jaunpur using one of his allies, and now able to declare war on him. That is a reoccurring theme throughout the early conquests. We declare war on someone and then we reset the truce on them by declaring war on one of their allies and white piecing. Another chain of wars going. After we peace out Karaman, Chagatai, Jaunpur,
and also another Indian nation, it is time to complete this war cycle and start the next one.
Assalamu alaikum, sister. How are you? Where is your hijab?
This next war cycle is where we really start pushing it into overdrive, starting off with Mewar and Bengal. Then while still fighting Mewar, we start our last war against Uzbek, fully annexing them, against another Indian minor, and also our now second major war against the Ottomans. The key to doing these wars on two fronts is having two army groups, one in the west and one in the east, and constantly fighting the people that we have truces with. Now that the Ottomans and the Mamluks hate us, it's very likely that we can form a coalition, so it's very important that we keep the truces going. Of course, the state of constant warring and constantly dealing with rebels is very micro-taxing, which is why we are now playing on speed 2, which could lead to quite the adverse effect on the human brain. What is my RNG, dude? What is up, guys? It's me, absolute horrible RNG. In this war cycle, we declared war on Ottomans, Mamluks, Bahmanis, Delhi, and any Indian nation that we do not have a truce with and that we have a border with. At this point, we're still using our claims to do our wars. Our next idea group will be religious though, so we can have the Deus Vult CB on our opponents. We do plan to convert to Hindu in this campaign so we can get additional core cost reduction, but not until we are done with most of the Indians. We're also going to annex our Punjab vassal that we created in order to get the core cost reduction from the Hindustani culture. 39 years in. There is a coalition, but it will end as soon as we're out of these wars. Two of these people are in the wars against us right now. As soon as we're out of these wars, the coalition will break. Looking pretty good after that series of wars. It was quite hard juggling all of them while fighting rebels. What I am going to do right now is I'm going to restructure a little bit. Our economy is not really the best, and we're still living here off of money from conquest while also being in a deficit almost every month. So we are going to be taking loans. The key here why we restructure is because we are trying to remake our loans, because as we get bigger, our loans get bigger while our loan amount gets smaller. In order to avoid bankruptcy, we always need to restructure our loans. Of course, that makes us give some inflation, but we can fix that over time. We do also spend some of our money on buildings. It's going to be really important later that we spend our money on courthouses and state houses so we remain under governing capacity. This is kind of a hard game to play where you're constantly losing money, but you need to balance it out so you never bankrupt while also increasing your economy and also building up your nation. They all in India? All the rebels are in India? This is what we look like right now. 45 years into the game, this is what we look like. Still a lot to go. 1,951 dev nation. Also issue embargo. We still had so much conquesting to do, and we were still a while before we got all of our core cost modifiers before it started really ramping up. How many wars can I start? I think I need to do one more war. I need to deck on this guy. The coalition at this point was broken. However, we still wanted to keep our wars going and conquering as much as we can. At this point, we finished our religious ideas and had the Deus Vult CB against all of the nations in India, since we were still Sunni and they were either Hindu or, in Bahman's case, Shia. Taking that idea is very important so we don't get unjustified demands and can do beautiful peace deals like this. I would tell you who I'm at war with here, but I don't know half of these nations' names, but you can see their portraits right here. Although we were fighting a lot of people, these wars specifically were not that difficult as most of them were small nations. As a matter of fact, most of our wars at this point were incredibly easy. Our next big AI that we had to fight would be Ming. We keep using the mechanic of the war cycles, of course, but now we are rushing through our opponents much easier. And for the sake of video, we are going to do a little skip to our wars in the Middle East, where we conquered more from the Ottomans and we also conquered the north of Egypt. Actually, quite important that we start building our fleet here so we can start going for Castile, because there's 2 wonders we want from him. I think he has the PU. Yeah, he has Aragon as a PU. Quite a big nation. Yeah, we need to get 2 wonders from him. We also need to get a fleet because we're gonna start expanding into East Africa. And we need to stop Bahmanis from killing VJ. I kind of took VJ's all of his forts, so I kind of need to save him right now. But the important thing is that I basically just take provinces so we can't take them from VJ. And then we are going to need to wipe Peace Coat immediately. So we need like 1 army to go here. Did he build a fort here? No, good. Good.
We noticed Ming's mandate was low, which meant that it was almost time for us to have our first Ming War.
It was very important as we got bigger that we built courthouses. And at this point, since we were almost done conquering India, it was time to convert to Hindu. So we started using our PDX tools to see our Hindu percentage and if we were ready to convert through rebels. Snaking Vijayanagar started to pay off as rebels started spawning in his nation, popping out smaller nations that we did not have truces with, letting us expand it even faster. Our first war against Ethiopia marked our first expansion into Eastern Africa. Keep in mind, conquering the Gulf of Aden trade node is incredibly important in maintaining the trade of India, as India, Gujarat, and Coromandel nodes leak into East Africa. And with the more trade directing through India, we finally started making a positive income balance. It was now time to convert to Hindu. Luckily for us, our majority religion at this point in terms of development was already Hindu, so converting was very simple just by accepting one rebel's demands. Now that we are Hindu, of course, we already started, as we showed last week, we were upgrading Varanasi. Not last week, the last stream, and we also upgraded this one. I do want to get this to level 3 just because minimum autonomy and territory at some point will just give us more manpower, money, sailors, especially, you know, considering most of our land is territories, will really give us a big boost. Varanasi though takes more priority because this is going to give us another 5 core cost reduction. Our fleet is safe. All right, we can deck on Mamluks here now. Such a small army, Mamluks. What happened? So we can't afford to dev another institution. So we need to like get it the old-fashioned way of it slowly growing. Luckily our capital's over here, so we'll get there eventually, but until then it's going to be a bit pain with technology. I am planning in January to take admin tech early. We can stack up more admin, but take admin tech early so we can start getting admin ideas. It's really important we get the first 2 in admin ideas just because 25 core creation cost is really big, just because of the time, not because of the cost, because that's going to be the biggest thing right now is coring things fast. And then with the truce with no guy, I think we can deck on this guy though. Yeah, we can deck on this guy. That came out of my land. I think this is from rebels that came out of my land, which is kind of the benefit of snaking someone and then getting a lot of rebels. Your rebels will go into their territory. Throughout this video, we haven't really talked much about the Mughal mission tree and how it benefits us. The real thing is that most of the mission tree that is important is on the right side of the path that leads to the Viceroyalty of Deccan mission. This mission will give us 10% admin efficiency, a huge amount of admin efficiency. But keep in mind, not only do we have to conquer all of South India to get that mission, we also need to get the Zebit system reform, which is a tier 5 reform, which we're still quite a bit from, estimated around 1530 that we would get it. The second idea and admin completed, as well as Varanasi, as well as our traditions, as well as our culture that we get for the core cost reduction, we are now getting very close to our max core cost of 90%, which is very important because coring in less than 10 months is a very, very important mechanic that we need to abuse to do this run. And I'll explain why in the next part of this video. Of course, we're still using snaking tactics as well as rebel bombing Vijayanagar to help us conquer even faster. I did unstate some states. I stated Herat and I unstated Khiva. Herat was already at 90% autonomy because of just random stuff. Also removed all the infrastructure that I put on here. I barely had an impact on economy.
Well, that's because of the autonomy. We were now doing our last war against Chagatai. We were going to fully annex them here while also expanding into South Africa. We also expanded into East Asia as well as into North Africa. And now it was time to attack Ming. But first, it was really important we pop our very important mission. We did do some full coring, but I wasn't sure what was going to release. A big mistake that I'm going to regret later, but that's for later. With the Deccan released, we now have additional 10% admin efficiency.
China will grow large.
Our first wars against Ming were actually not direct wars against Ming. It was actually through Ming tributes that we got into war with Ming, and we simply just took max money from him multiple times. This led to China having low mandate and making these wars so easy for us as we stomped their army and even stack wiped in many cases. As many of you know, once you take down the mandate of China, it's actually quite simple to beat him. So we didn't even have to commit our full army as we continued our expansion into North Africa and Southern Africa. Just look at that cheap coring that we now had. This is why we play Mughals and play it this way. Now, what did we use all of that money from Bank of Ming on? Of course, wonders. Quite important. We dumped a lot of money from this from Ming, sell titles. We dumped it into getting this 10 core cost reduction. And now we should be about, we should be 80 war exhaustion with no wars. 80 war, 4 cost reduction without war exhaustion. Why am I saying the weirdest things? Our next important accelerator was province war score cost from age bonus, which we almost had. And after doing Bank of Ming 3 times, Ming started to explode. A little bit earlier than I wanted. I did want to do 1 or 2 more Bank of Mings as they were giving me thousands of ducats every single time I did it. However, it is fine, and it meant that it was now time to start actually conquering China and not just farming him for money. At this point, we were still focusing on wars outside of Europe. You might be wondering, why aren't you started conquering Europe? Is there any way you can conquer Europe that fast? Well, me personally, I like to go do the entire world outside of Europe and then focus on Europe entirely, all my attention on Europe. This is because it is actually quite hard to get a coalition unless we start fighting the Europeans. The European powers do have considerable troops when they're all together, which can happen if we start pissing them all off. So if we conquer all of Asia, conquer all of Africa, then we will be in a good position to start conquering Europe. However, this did not stop the Europeans from being a pain in my ass. Why is Lithuania and Basra diverting out? More nations started popping out of Ming now, and that started our first actual expansion into India, as we started with Dali and then Yu. Then it was Shu who released next, then Shun that released next, and we declared war on Shu, then we declared war on Yao. Oh wait, Yao is a nation in Central Africa. To reduce rebels significantly, we increased autonomy in provinces, which was incredibly painful for me as a multiplayer player. However, it really helped us out a lot in maintaining our manpower and saving us from dealing with too many rebels. After Yui and Shu, it was now time to attack Shun, and then after that, Ning and Wu. Also continued our expansion into the Spice Islands, and additionally after a war against Shun, we declared war on Korea, leading to the conquest of China in less than 10 years. When you're conquesting so much that they are fighting your rebels for you. And that leads us to the end of this video. Less than 100 years and we conquered this much land. This was a really fun run, and we still have a lot to go to complete this pre-1600 world conquest. Of course, it was only the last 20 years or so where we started really ramping up to an insane speed due to all of the modifiers we started stacking. The challenge now is completing all of the rest of the world in less than 70 years. We need to conquer all of New World, and we need to conquer all of Europe. Do you think it's possible? Do you think that I completed this run? If you know because you watched my Twitch stream, please do not spoil it in the comments below. But if you don't know, write down below what you think, and if you think it's even possible that I will complete this run and complete this challenge. Before I end this video, I firstly want to tell you guys that I'm sorry for the lack of consistency on this YouTube channel in terms of video uploads. I do truly want to upload more, however, I keep getting swamped with things that are more important and pressing in my personal life and my professional life. As many of you know, I did attempt to try to make this my full-time gig, both on Twitch and YouTube. However, I had more responsibilities that came, meaning that I had to go back to what I was doing before. Of course, I want to change that, and I know many of you guys want to change that, and I want to start uploading like 3 videos a week. To make that possible though, I need more support from you guys. Share this video, like it, comment down below, and if you want to directly support me, you can go on my Twitch channel and subscribe and donate on there. Of course, don't go behind your means, and if you don't want to support, then that's totally fine too. I will keep uploading no matter what. The only thing is the amount that I will be uploading. Thank you guys. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for being fans throughout everything. And I will try my best to get this next video done and the next part done before a week has passed. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next part of this campaign. Thank you. Karens! I've integrated the Karens!